So in this video, I wanted to spend a few minutes talking about this new pen from Uni. It's called the Jetstream Lite Touch. And not only is it a new pen body, but there's a new refill and then a new ink formulation in that refill. So it's pretty significant. This pen came out in March 2024, so relatively recently. It's sold in the Japanese market now. I'm sure it'll make its way to the US market sooner or later. And you could see just visibly from the outside, it looks very much like a Jetstream. Has that sort of Jetstream clip here, very much a Jetstream style knock, and then some styling features that we're pretty familiar with. It does have a grippy front end, which, it's on some Jetstreams like the Sport, but usually you're seeing a lot of hard plastics with the Jetstream line as opposed to dual textures, but it's very much reminiscent of the Jetstreams of the last few years, and it's sold in a few different colors. This one is called Shell White. This one is called Light Blue. It's also sold in some other colors, and it's sold in a 0.5 and 0.7 millimeter size, and then sold in a 4N1 multi-pen as well, which I don't have here. The outside of the pen body is not really the most interesting part about it. I would say the major release and what it's named after is that new ink. The ink inside is called I guess it's called the Lite Touch ink. Uni has not really gotten into the formulation of it, but it's an update to the Jetstream lines ink, that ballpoint, that oil-based ink, and this is a lighter, smoother ink than before. This ink appears in a normal Jetstream refill shape, but the new refill is called the SXR-L. This one is the SXR-L-7. The old refill would have been the SXR-7. So that L is what denotes the light touch, or that new lower viscosity refill. And again, that's sold in a 0.5 and a 0.7. It's also sold in a multi-pen size to go with that 4-in-1 multi-pen. That's called the SXR-L-80. So basically, we have a new, really light, super smooth ballpoint ink, as well as the two new pen bodies. Again, so that's this one, the Lite Touch single, and then there's a Lite Touch 4-in-1, which we won't be covering in this video. Maybe we'll check it out at a later date, but they're selling for like $20+ right now, so I didn't really feel the need to pick one up. The pen body itself, if you're interested in that, again, it's a dual material, so it's a hard plastic up here, kind of an okay clip, same sort of clip we've seen on a lot of pens like this. This lower piece right here, and you can see where it separates right there, this is fully rubberized, so it's hard. It doesn't really have much give, but it is rubbery, so you get some texture there. Nice knock, but really nothing to write home about. And then inside, we have that SXR-L-7 or the SXR-L-5, depending on whether you opt for this pen in the 0.5 or 0.7 millimeter sizes. And it's sold in a few different colors. I just bought it in light blue and then shell white just to kind of see the difference. So the new Jetstream has a lighter, smoother feel than before. It's not a giant difference, but definitely you could feel it gliding over the paper with less drag than you would have felt in the past. I did see some ink accumulation on the tip that I really haven't seen from a lot of Jetstreams, so that might be something to deal with, but in day-to-day writing, it really hasn't been a problem. So now we'll do a quick comparison between the new SXR-L and an old school or, non-L Jetstream Sport. This is the SXR-10. This is the 1.0 millimeter version. It definitely has more drag to it. Some of that is because of the larger size, of course, but also the older formulation, the standard Jetstream refill, has just a little bit more drag to it than the new Lite Touch. Uni in their press release didn't say anything about how much lighter the ink is or how it has 10% less drag. They didn't say anything like that. So it's kind of hard to quantify how different it is or even really describe, but you do get a new lighter ink. There's just less drag to it. I could see some people saying it's even too light or too smooth because it doesn't have a lot of pull on it or drag on it when you're writing. So it does take a little bit of adjusting to on this SXR-L-7. And it is definitely a change of mode for your standard Jetstream, which we all know and love at this point. I'm not really convinced on it being a huge upgrade, since one of the things that's nice about having a ballpoint ink is it does have a little bit of drag to it, and that gives you a nice feel. It also has a little bit of extra control if you are a little bit on the messy side. And this is SXR-10. So I really like what they did here, and it's a really cool innovation. It's definitely a notable difference, I would say, but I'm not sure if it's super positive or maybe slightly negative or maybe just neutral so far. We do see it has really nice ink saturation, and it just keeps up with you. It's very well behaved, as you'd expect from a Jetstream, but they have gotten a good deal smoother than it was. Kind of getting into that gel territory, which makes me wonder, are you writing with a Jetstream or like an oil-based ink for the attributes of the oil-based ink, like how it'll write on everything? Or are you also writing with a Jetstream because you like how it feels? In which case you're losing some of that feel and moving more towards a a gel or rollerball level of smoothness, which may not be what people are looking for. So in that case, I'm hoping they're going to keep the old refills. I'm pretty sure they will. If you do want the new one, we should see the SXR-L-5 and 7, as well as the SXR-80. That's the multi-pen version. That will now be sold in the SXR-L80, and that will be sold in a 0.5. That will be the multi-pen version of the new SXR-L. That is what comes in the 4+1 multi-pen version of the new Jetstream. Okay, so that was a lot to take in, a lot of acronyms, a lot of kind of talk about ink, and I would just summarize it with this. There's a new pen called the Jetstream Lite Touch. It has these pretty nice bodies. They look a lot like some of the newer Jetstreams, like the I forget what it's called, like the recycled or something like that we looked at. Maybe it was the ocean plastic we looked at a few weeks ago. It's very reminiscent of those. Has these sort of monochrome look to it, which I really like. Rubberized front end, which I'm not totally in love with. Makes them kind of hard to clean. I got some ink on this one, and you can kind of see that it's still there despite my attempts to clean it off. But it is a nice pen body, and you could buy these for about maybe $3-4 bucks right now. There's no price listed on them, but it should be about $3-4. This model is the SXN-LS-07. It's also sold in 0.5. But the bigger deal here is that there's a new ink sold with these. That's the Lite Touch, or the L line, and should be available across the Jetstream family, I would say, in the coming months, maybe year or two. I don't think they'll stop releasing the old ink, since there's a use to that formulation, and I really like that feel to it. I think a lot of people really like the Jetstream ink, and this one is different and in some ways better, but lower drag is not always necessarily better, especially if you're buying this for how it feels. So really interesting release, really great to see Uni making some cool innovations on the Jetstream line in 2024, but I'm still, I'd say the verdict is still out on this Lite Touch ink, since it has a lot of advantages, but it is maybe even smoother than it needs to be. Thanks for watching.